Hi and welcome to Scott's Inverts. If you're new, remember to hit that subscription button, hit the bell notification so you never miss one of my uploads. Today we're having a look at the Costa Rica orange mouth tarantula, Psalmopoeus reduncus. And in my humble opinion, I think this is the most overlooked spider in the Psalmopoeus genus. She is absolutely beautiful. She is absolutely stunning. Let's go and check out this amazing spider. Our spider is from Costa Rica, located between Nicaragua and Panama. Now, with Costa Rica just situated 12 degrees north of the equator, what this does, it gives it a tropical feel all year round. And there's two definitive seasons. There's like a dry season and a wet season. Now, and in these two seasons, we get humidity of 37% in the dry, all the way up to 90% in the wet season. And what this does is across the year and at the top of the mountains and the coastal paths, kind of gives you a temperature range of between 10 and 27 degrees. But what we want to do is find an average for this spider. So we're going to be keeping it around 26 degrees and humidity wise around 60 to 70%, which is easily attainable in our enclosures. What you can also do with this spider is give it a wet season and let that enclosure almost dry out before reintroducing that wet season. But I just like to keep it at that humidity rating the whole year round. Now up on screen is my subadult female, looking absolutely stunning. Those orange hairs, that carapace, she is absolutely to die for. And just the look, absolutely beautiful. Now this spider is an arboreal species, but as with all Psalmopoeus, we do need to leave a little bit of room at the bottom of that cork bark for her to also burrow down. Now as spiderlings, I can tend to keep them again damp in a little sling pot with a little twig in there, and what they'll do is they'll web up inside and take the soil up with them and make a kind of a semi-turret of webbing going up that little vial. They are a relatively fast growing species. They can go from sling to adult female in around 5 years, attaining sizes of 6 inches. Males are a little bit smaller. They're kind of between 5 to 5.5 inches and they mature around 18 months to 2 years of age. And as with all Psalmopoeus, these can also be very skittish. So if you disturb them, they can be very fast and very flighty. So just be really aware of that, especially on those rehousing days. I mean, this girl, since this video, rehousing, she has given me a threat pose once or twice. But this is one of those spiders that tends to hide away in her webbing inside that cork bark and down in the burrow. But when she does come out, as you can see up on screen, she is an absolute treat. Now the name orange mouth actually comes from the orange hairs around the mouth parts. And if you look ever so carefully at those legs, you'll see the typical Psalmopoeus orange stripe. It's not exceptionally visible on this species, but it is still there. Now let's go over and take a look at the setup. Don't worry, that blue is just a protective film. Tarantularoom.co.uk, cylindrical terrarium, 25 centimeters tall, 17 centimeters across, a beautiful arboreal enclosure for a beautiful arboreal species. Now what we'll do is we'll take this blue wrapping off and it leaves us with a clear enclosure. And the substrate that we're going to be using today is the Irish peat moss. I'm just finding this stuff absolutely unbelievable. It's fantastic. And I'm going to go kind of a third up that enclosure. And what that will do is provide enough for our spider to burrow down. And we want that substrate to be, again, when we pick it up, squeeze it, just hold together. Using the old faithful microfiber cloth around the outside, just to take any soil residue off, and around the inside. When this is set up, we're not going to be wanting to do this because it's just going to irritate the spider too much, really annoy her. So we'll get it done now so it's nice and clean. Find with the microfiber cloth is it just takes up or picks up every last piece of debris that I've gone and left behind on the inside and the outside of the enclosure, and it leaves it smear free and looking absolutely fantastic. So this is an arboreal species, so we're going to have to set it up arboreally So we're going to be looking at a piece of cork bark that size, but this one is slightly too big. So I take it away and I've cut it down a little bit, and I'm going to set it right in the center, push it down a little bit so it fills up that about a quarter of the way across the bottom with substrate. And again, that'll just aid our spider into starting the burrow at the bottom of that cork bark. And to help keep that humidity in for a long period of time, we're going to also use some moss. So I'm going in here with some tongs because I can't get my hands down to the side of the enclosure. So the back end of the tongs kind of acts as like a little rake, just to help push that substrate down and around the base of that cork bark. And really, our spider doesn't mind. Our spider would be quite happy with it being up and down like that. This is just aesthetically pleasing. It's the only reason I'm pushing this down. And so I can set the moss off at an angle that I'm kind of thinking for this enclosure. And you'll see what I mean with that in just 1 second. So we've been out into the wild. We've got some moss. We've been collecting moss now from the wild for several years and using it really, really well. It is so effective. Just drop it down the side, and all I'm doing here is kind of angling it. And I wanted to angle it because I want the enclosure to look like it's kind of been there all the time. I'm really hoping that it kind of looks like I've picked up the piece of cork bark and literally just put it straight into an enclosure type of a feel, as if that moss has been there all the way along for many, many years. So the way I'm trying to do that is by putting it down the sides, and where the glass or the outside of the enclosure is, trying to push it low so it goes up at the angle and kind of looks like it's creeping up the cork bark, just to try and give the enclosure that little bit of an age feeling. So I'm just tapping that back down around the edges with the tongs just into the substrate and pushing it slightly against the cork bark to hold it in place. Can you kind of see the look that I'm kind of trying for there? So instead of keeping it flat on the soil, just taking it up on the angle, just to make it look like the moss started off and then has grown up and grown a little bit more in some other places, just to try and give it that kind of an aged feel. Does that even make sense? I hope so. But that's kind of the look that I'm going for. Let me know down in the comments if you think it works, or indeed if it doesn't. But I'm pretty chuffed with this result. Looks really nice, really effective, and that green moss always kicks off an enclosure beautifully. And I've said it before a fair few times, and I'll say it again, that moss will take on 8 times its own weight in water. So when we're looking to increase humidity, moss is an absolute godsend. But we're just about finished now. We just need to get some water in there, get a water dish in there, and then get the spider in there. So I put the water dish in without pressing record on the camera. So we also filled it up like a plonk donk without pressing record. But you know how to put a water dish in an enclosure now, top it up. I actually broke my water sprayer. So I'm just pouring some water in around the moss. And what I've done is overfilled that water dish as well as. And what we're going to be doing is going in once a week just to make sure the moss and the substrate underneath is still nice and damp. Now, the Tarantula room catch tube is what I'm using now. We're just going to try and send the female down the tube towards the cork bark and into the enclosure in a safe manner. And we're all set up and good to go.
Let's go. Yo, I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same. Cause that's what it takes.
Psalmopoeus reduncus, absolutely nailed. Costa Rica orange mouth. Now, in my opinion, I think the Psalmopoeus reduncus is overlooked in the Psalmopoeus genus. Don't ask me why, I think they're absolutely gorgeous. If you agree with that statement, let me know down below, and if you don't, also let me know down below. I also personally think that the whole Psalmopoeus genus is a beautiful stepping stone between New World and Old World. By that, what I mean is, if you're keeping New Worlds and you're looking for an in-between kind of a species to get you halfway into Old Worlds, the next purchase after the next one being an Old World, a Psalmopoeus is going to be up your street, because they are fast and they're very quick to become defensive, as well as they really do keep you on your toes with rehousing and feeds. And they're absolutely beautiful species to top it off. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscription button. We have got tons of content coming out just for you. And as always, we shall see you again on the next one.